How y'all doing today? How y'all doing today? Welcome back to the Count It All Joy podcast with your boy Will. And I'm back with another episode today, y'all. Today I have a very important episode today for y'all. Uh yeah, another topic that I'm passionate about, something that I take pride in myself, something that I've done a lot of, I guess you could say research, but also living it. Um Asking others, asking for counsel about all of this. But today we're going to talk about leading, not following. Uh, but yeah, again, all of these topics I talk about, I try to make sure that I have a personal experience with them and that I have some type of passion about it. Because I don't just want to talk about anything on here. I want to talk about stuff that is important, but also I can give my own, uh, viewpoint from it because we all have our own paradigms regarding certain topics and certain different situations. But for me, the ones I talk about on here are important to me, and I don't want to say knowledge because that has a certain connotation, but I have a certain, again, just viewpoint on it and have my own experiences with them. But again, today we're going to be talking about leading, not following. And I think this is very important, especially, I'm not going to go into detail, but there's people in my life right now that they need to hear this. And yeah, so let's just get into it. I think the first thing, something that my mom's always told me, like literally used to spam it, and she tells me this to this day. And I talk about praying a lot on here because I feel like my mom, I ain't gonna say what she called me, but regarding prayer, you know, I I've grown up in prayer. Like everything we just pray about my family, like my grandfather, my grandma, my mom, like everything we just pray about. It doesn't matter when or where we're gonna pray about it. But something about it is like we've always, my mother and my grandfather, I guess my mom got it from my grandfather. He used to he will always start his prayer out the same way. And I got that from him. I got that from my mom. So I always start my prayer out the same way. And I'm saying all this to say she will always say, and she got this from my grandfather, but my mom will always say in her prayer, you know, bless us to be in this world, but not of this world. And that's just always stuck to me. Like, it's never left. I just always thought about that, like be in this world, not of this world, because it stems from an array of verses. But when we think about it, it's really we're going to live in this world. Like we're here. That's inevitable. Like we live in this world. But that doesn't mean that we need to follow the trends, follow the traits, and actually just be worldly. And the verses that these come from, first I have John 17:14 through 16. And this is Jesus talking in this verse. But it says, I have given them your word, and the world has hated them. For they are not of this world any more than I am of the world. My prayer is not that you take them out of the world, but that you protect them from the evil one. They are not of the world, even as I am not of it. So I mean that again, that is Jesus talking. Um, and he's basically saying like basically what I already kind of tried to explain. We're going to live in this world, but when we're following God, he's talking. He's saying that these people are trying to follow God, following, and the people are hating them because of it. They're persecuting them. They're coming after them because they think they're crazy. And God, Jesus is saying, like, you know, bless them to be in this world, but not of this world. Bless them to be able to live here, but still follow you and not follow the world, not just be of this world. Because being of this world is just all secular. It's negatives when you try to live after the world, live for the world. Like one of my pet peeves, bro, is like when people say, "Oh, the universe has," like that's one of my pet peeves. I try not to use the word hate, but I hate when people use that type of like, phrase like, "Oh, the universe has a way." Like, bro, the universe ain't got nothing to do with nothing. And I know my mom's gonna hear me say that, but you're not supposed to say that. As far as like, it ain't got nothing to do with nothing, double negative. But the universe it doesn't have anything to do with anything. Like it's all God's work. All good and perfect things come from Him. That's another tangent I can get on. But I really don't like when people talk about the universe like it holds some weight. Anyway though, but yeah, that verse again, Jesus is saying that when you're trying to follow God, when you're trying to follow when you're trying to live your life for Him, people are going to try to look at you different, look at you crazily, and look at you like you're doing something weird, you're doing something wrong, or you're not having fun, or you know, yeah, they're gonna look at you a certain way. But this verse is Jesus is saying like, Lord, protect them from that, protect them from the pressure that it has when you're trying to follow God and trying to live for Him, because people are trying to come at you, the devil's trying to come at you, and he's gonna make sure that he's gonna try to get at you. So we have to be ready for that. Another verse that makes me um, that kind of coincides with the phrase "be in this world, but not of this world" is Romans 12:2. He says, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." My mom always used to say that as well, but let me finish the verse. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, His good, His good, pleasing, and perfect will. The first part of this verse, is my mom always used to say this as well. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Uh, Again, it's basically saying the same thing. Like we can't just try to live our lives following what the world does, what unbelievers, people who aren't living for God do. Like we can't fall into that pattern. And we have to, again, I'm just saying what it says, we have to be renewed. I mean, we have to be transformed by the renewing of our mind. So when we're changing our old ways, when we're leaning more into God, when we're trying to live our lives for Him, we are being transformed each and every day. We're growing each and every day. We're maturing each and every day. So when we're doing that, it's a renewing of the mind. We're looking at things different. We see things differently. We're not seeing things the same way. We're not seeing it in a worldly view, which most people on this earth, they're looking at things in a worldly way. Like the way you react to others, the way you speak to others, uh, the way you treat others, relationships, all of that. There's worldly views and then there's godly views of it. So we have to make sure we're going to live in this world, but we have to make sure we're not being of this world. In other words, we're not following worldly traits and worldly behaviors. And it's inevitable. Sometimes we're going to unintentionally and intentionally, but we have to make sure we're eliminating as much as possible because it doesn't lead to anything good. Something I really want to get into as far as this episode. Uh, this is a little bit more subjective, but I feel like it is objective. But it doesn't matter at this point. But one thing I've talked about, and again, I've talked to multitudes of people about these things, just picking their brain on it, what they think as well. But for me, I feel like everybody can be a leader. Uh, I mean, that leadership can look different and it varies from person to person, but everyone can be a leader. Now, I think when people say, um, like they're leaders, or when people talk about leaders, they think of presidents and they think of, uh, people on the forefront of everything. They like generals, they think of stuff like that. People who are leading other people, leading men. Um, people who are over a bunch of people. And I don't really look at leadership as that. Yes, you can be a leader with that. But there are some people who are, um, There's some people who are presidents. There's some people who are over a business, um, whatever, and they're not real leaders. Now, you can lead. That's another topic that I'll get into. But you can lead the wrong way. But we'll get into that later. But again, my whole point is everyone can be a leader, but that leadership can look different from person to person. It varies. I can give a quick example. I don't know if it's gonna be quick, but I can give a quick example. I think my mom is a great leader. I think that's where I've cultivated my leadership skills as I've grown up. Because I've watched her lead, right? I've watched her be a leader and live her life a certain way. And my mom she's definitely an introvert, like definitely an introvert. Like it's not really, she doesn't like being around people. She doesn't like being around a crowd. She doesn't have a lot of friends, or she doesn't call people her friends, and that's where I get it from. I don't call everybody my friend. I'm cool with a lot of people, but I don't call everybody my friend. But yeah, she talks to a handful of people, and but she lives her life a certain way, and she leads. She leads by her actions, right? She's gonna lead by the way she lives her life. And if you're in the vicinity of her life, as far as like you see her on a day-to-day basis, then you'll see the leadership firsthand. But my mom is not really the one. She'll stand up for herself, but she's not the one to. And she's a teacher, so she has to get in front of people and talk and lead, and she leads meetings and she does all of that. But if she doesn't have to be the loudest one in the room, or she doesn't have to, you know, escalate her voice, like she doesn't want to do that. That's not the way she wants to lead. She'll rather lead by her actions, right? She'll rather lead by the way she lives her life. And she'll always, because, obviously she leads her family, as far as like her kids and all of that. But so she's gonna tell us what we're doing, what we're not doing, and she's gonna give us advice. But again, she's more so the leader that is gonna lead by actions. She's not always gonna be at the forefront screaming and telling people how to do it and what to do. Right? She doesn't like doing all that. She doesn't like all that. For me though, and as I've grown and gotten older, I've seen the maturation of this, but I'm kind of the opposite as far as I don't mind screaming at you. I don't mind, and when I say screaming, I'm talking about as far as like basketball and stuff like that. I don't mind, uh, you know, being at the front telling people, all right, we need to do this. All right, this is how it's supposed to be. And I also try to lead by example, but I've always been the outspoken, person as I've and literally since I was little. Sorry, my sons are messing up. It's raining, and anyway, but yeah, I've always been like as I've gotten older, it's just gotten more and more prevalent though. But I've always been like the outspoken. I'm gonna say what's on my mind. I'll speak up for others if they don't want to say anything. Like I guess a gift God's given me. That's how I've matured, I guess, over time. And that's kind of like two different ways to lead. I don't mind, like I said, being in front of the crowd or being in front of a bunch of people and telling them, "Hey, bro, this is how I feel. This is how I see it. This is what I think it should be." Blase, blase. My mom, she can do that, but she'll rather just show you how to go about it. Like just watch me. Now, most important, she's not saying like, "Oh, I'm the blueprint." She's everything she's saying is from God. She's showing you, uh, the way to live through God, and that's the most important thing when we're leading. It's not about us. It's about God. Most importantly, taking what God has given us. But again, everyone can be a leader, but everyone's not going to be a leader. That's just inevitable. Everyone doesn't have. I feel like everyone can have leadership qualities, but everyone's not going to be a leader. There's people with social anxiety. There's people that everyone's insecure, but there's people with a lot of insecurities, and they're more focused on external things than just internal things. And that's things that we all battle with as human beings. But those are all qualities and traits that can make or break a leader. There are some people who are they're great at public speaking. They're great at getting a point across. They're great at communicating. So then it appears that they're great leaders. But there's people that aren't as great. They're not as great of a communicator, or they're not as great at public speaking, but they're not the best leaders. So it definitely varies from person to person. There's no perfect blueprint. But my whole point is here that everyone, I feel like everyone could be a leader, and it looks different from person to person, depending on your gifts, depending on your skills, depending on how you live your life. But everyone could be a leader. I think that we all have gifts, we all have qualities, we all have skills, and we all can lead in different capacities. That doesn't mean you don't have to be over a whole team or a whole school or a whole whatever business to be a leader. You can lead the people in your household. And I think looking at it from that standpoint, it makes it a little bit easier as well because everyone can be a leader. You don't have to lead 30, 40, 50, 100, 2,000 people. It could be just two, three people that you're leading, trying to direct in the right way. And that can expand over time, or it could just stay there. It doesn't matter. But as long as you're doing your due diligence to lead the people that you can and impact them the right way and influence them the right way, I think you're doing your job. Again, though, this is my opinion. This is, I guess, subjective, but I feel like everyone could be a leader. Everyone has the qualities and attributes to do it. It just depends if you want to do it. And people think that they have to be in front of a bunch of people to lead. You don't. It doesn't even work like that. You can lead and you not even know you're leading. So that's something that I want to. That's something I've always thought about, and over time, my belief in it has grown a little bigger, I guess, or stronger. Uh, Another topic I want to talk about is fitting in. Some people's feelings probably gonna get hurt, but I don't really care. Uh, I think trying to fit in, it's not cool. I think I think trying to fit in is lame, if I'm being honest, for lack of better terms. It's extremely, again, I'm just keep it lame for a lack of better terms. I don't It kind of irks me when because I see it in my everyday life as far as people who are trying to fit in. They do things just because other people are doing them, or they're peer pressured to a certain extent, peer pressure to do things that they really don't want to do, or just because somebody else says something, then they'll do it, or like, yeah, all of that stuff. And I know some people struggle with confidence, some people struggle. That's why I'm trying to learn to have sympathy and empathy with people like that, where it's hard for them to stand up for themselves. They weren't taught to stand up for themselves, and they're just like, okay, well, I'm gonna just do what this person's doing because I don't really know what to do. I'm trying to have sympathy for those type of people because there are a lot of people like that. And but I think trying to fit in, trying to do what other people are trying to just do what other people are doing, I think it's just not cool, bro. Like, it's really lame to me. I don't want to say I lose respect for people that do that, but I do. But again, it varies from situation to situation. Everybody has different situations that they're going through, different mental battles. So I get that. But when people are just doing things just because I've never been like that, so I don't really understand like how people do that. Like with drinking, smoking, whatever, etc., whatever it is. I don't drink, I don't smoke. But let's say I did. If I'm doing that, it's because I want to do it. It's like, all right. I want to drink. Okay, I want to smoke. That it just is. That's what I want to do. Hypothetically speaking, obviously, if that's what I did, I'm doing it because I want to do it. Most people that I know, they do it because somebody else was like, hey, you need to try this, or look, bro, this is the cool thing, like blah blah blah. And then they end up going down the path where it's like, okay, nah, that's something they do. But it started from them trying to fit in. And I just think that stuff is just so lame. Like, if I'm being honest, that's not how we're supposed to live our lives. I just, I don't know. I think that when we're trying to fit in, it takes away from our individuality. And again, it takes away from our leadership. We're just following others. That's not what God put us on this earth to do. Again, some people are going to lead and be leaders of men. Everyone can't be a leader of men. because some people literally don't have the skills to do it. If you want to be a leader of men, you have to have certain qualities, um, a certain type of confidence, certain type of communication, skills. But and everybody doesn't have that, right? And that's fine. But that doesn't mean we have to fit in and try to just do what other people do and follow the crowd. And I have a couple verses that again kind of correlates with that fitting in. Um, 1 Corinthians 15:33, it talks about do not be misled. Bad company corrupts good character or good behavior. We all know about this. We've heard this verse probably growing up. I've definitely heard this verse growing up a lot, but bad company corrupts good behavior. Again, when we're trying to fit in, when we're trying to follow the wrong crowd, I think it doesn't really. Oh, my boy, sorry, I'm looking at my notes. My boy Austin just texted me. Shout out my boy Austin. Um, just said he missed me. That's my guy. Love you, bro. Um, I'll text him after this. Anyway, said do not be misled. Bad company corrupts good character, good behavior. I think that when we're surrounding ourselves and when we're following other people, and it says the first line said, "Do not be misled." Like sometimes we are in a stage where okay, maybe like growing up, we're not leaders yet, or we don't know how to lead, so we're gonna have to follow others. We need to be following the right people. First, we need to be following God, but God puts people in our lives, role models, people that we can look up to, that we can lead until we can lead ourselves and lead others. That's parents, that's uncles, aunties, whatever, cousins, whoever it may be, any type of elder. Like we do not be misled though, but it says bad company corrupts good character, good behavior. So when we're following the wrong people, when we're following, a lot of times we're following our peers that they might seem a little bit cooler, or they might seem a little bit like they're popping, or they have it going on, and that's not gonna get you anywhere at the end of the day. And that's something that we need to really grasp and understand. Like we trying to fit in, trying to just do what other people are doing. It's not the blueprint. It'll never be the blueprint. It'll never be the wave. And with this generation, you're seeing that a lot, and that's why it's getting to where it's getting to. But again, man, we do not be misled. Bad company corrupts good behavior, man, and that's the truth. And if we're living our life just following, bad things will happen. Another verse that I think of is do not be yoked, and we've heard this. I've heard this my whole life. Do not be yoked with unbelievers. For what we do, for what do righteousness and wickedness have in common? Or what fellowship can light have with darkness? Basically, we can't say we're living for God, but then we're hanging out with people who don't believe in God as far as, and I'm not saying just vocally, like, oh, I believe in God or I love God. I'm talking about how we're living. And this is something that I've had to come to terms with as I've gotten older. Um, there's people that you grow up with, and there's people that you love and that you care for, and you guys go on different paths. And sometimes, you start living your life, you start changing your ways, and they might go a different path. That doesn't mean you love them any less, but you can't, again, it said, do not be yoked together with unbelievers. What does that mean? We can't mix our lifestyles together. It doesn't work like that. It's going to get diluted as far as if we're trying to live a certain way, but then we're hanging around the opposite way we're trying to live. It's literally taken away from our growth every single day. So it says, what do righteousness and wickedness have in common? What fellowship can light have with the darkness? Like it makes so much sense when you read it over and over, because it's saying, how can we coexist when we're both living two different types of lives? It doesn't work like that. It's not meant to work like that. You might think you could do it, or you might think you could continue to grow like that, but it's only stunting your growth at the end of the day. So I think all of that is trying to fit in. It leads to, and that's that verse itself, 2 Corinthians 6:14. that that can um be an overarching thing for a lot of different things. But as far as we're talking about trying to fit in, that's something that if you say you're trying to live for God and you're trying to go after Him, we can't look at Johnny or Martha and try to do what they're doing when they're not living their life for God. And we're just because they look cool, we're trying to follow what they're doing. It doesn't lead to anything good. And it's just not the way to live as a Christian. Um Something else I want to talk about. This might strike a nerve as well, but we can't get caught up in trends in this world. This world is just so, bro. Like, man, don't get me started. I just, I have so many pet peeves with the way people live. With not even, I don't even want to put it the way people live their lives, which that is something, but just the way the world is. I think we can't get caught up in trends, especially with social media, but we just can't get caught up in trends in general. If y'all been on here, y'all heard me talk about TikTok a little bit. I try not to talk about TikTok a lot because I don't like TikTok, but it's I don't know. It's not just TikTok, but it's social media in general, but it's the world in general. Everyone tries to do things just because other people are doing them. Like I remember, look, I'll give this example. This is a little bit more uh like some are innocent. Some trends are innocent. Some it's like okay. Like it's one I didn't even know about. I had to look it up myself. But it's uh this is corny, but it's like 6, 7, that jump. Like there's nothing really wrong with that, but it's just like that's a more innocent one. Uh but there's some that are, it just shows how much of a follower that we are. And I think that I lost my train of thought. But we can't get caught up in trends in this world. Oh, look, this is what I was gonna say. So as far as I remember, it was this trend, and this is a true story. Like this is somebody I know that was doing this. It was multiple people. I want to say ALS challenge. I don't know, but it was like that ice bucket challenge, and people were just sitting there. Uh, I think they would like put ice in a bucket and just dump it on somebody's head, which is fine. If when you do the research, when you actually know what it's about, it was a cool thing. Um, and this was some years ago, but it was a cool thing. I had a few people that I knew that did it, and I didn't know this was before I did my research. I just saw it, but I didn't know what it was about. I'm like, oh, what's this? What's this challenge? Like, what are y'all doing this for? Bro, gonna tell me, oh, I don't know. I just everybody doing this, so I wanted to, hop in. Bro, what? Bro, what are you talking about, bro? Like, when people say stuff like that, it just irks me. Like, what do you mean you don't know? You just doing it because they doing it? Like, what are we doing? Like, I'll just never understand that. That's certain stuff that, like, it irks me. I don't really get it. I don't understand. You couldn't even do your due diligence to look it up. Like, you didn't even want to know what it was about. You just saw Brody doing it, so you like, all right, let me tap in. Let me tap it. Like, come on, dog. I don't understand. I'll never grasp that mindset. I'm just gonna do it because somebody else is doing it. Ooh, this is trending. Let me tap in. And that's what this world has come to, especially with social media. It just heightens it even more on a global scale. So I think it's kind of scary when you think about it. If enough people do it, it makes you think of other things where it's like if enough people start doing it, then everybody will start doing it because that's how the world is. Most people in this world, they're followers, so they're literally just gonna do what everybody else is doing, and that's the scary part about it. But I say I'll just say we can't get caught up in trends. We can't just do what other people are doing just because like it doesn't make any sense. Um, a verse that again, a verse down that whoa, I can't speak. A verse that correlates with this, Isaiah 9:16 says, "Those who guide this people mislead them, and those who are guided are led astray." Now, I'm going to give you the context on this verse. This verse is basically talking about uh, it's corrupt. It was corrupt leadership going on in Israel. I think the Assyrians um invaded Israel, and the leaders were just they weren't godly. They're on like a moral decline, and it led the people of Israel astray, and basically it led to their destruction. Uh, I think we can apply this to our lives as well. And with that context, I'm gonna say the verse one more time. Those who guide this people misled them, and those who are guided are led astray. Um, but yeah, I think we can apply that to today as well because I'm not gonna get into politics on here. I'm cool on that. I don't even like politics. But you can look at politics since it's on a global scale, but I'm gonna refrain from that. Uh, but my whole point is you can take that context and also apply it to today because and you can look at it from both sides, the people who are leading and the people who are following. Because some people lead and they don't even know they have that type of power. There's some people that don't understand the leadership qualities they have. There's some people that understand and they take advantage of it. But when it says though these people, those who guide this people mislead them, and those who are guided are led astray. So it's on both ends of the spectrum. When you know that you do have leadership qualities and that you do have, kind of the power to lead others, we have to use those gifts and skills for good, and we have to make sure that we're impacting them in the right way. Now, for the people that aren't there in as far as like leading yet, you have to know who you're trying to follow after. And most importantly, we need to be following after God. Everything we need to do, we need to try to be glorifying Him. But God does put certain people on this earth that we can look up to and follow in a certain way because they're trying to follow God. So if they're following God and we're following them, we're all getting to the same place, if that makes sense. So in that, it's like we have to be cognizant of who we're looking up to, who our role models are. And I think that verse kind of coincides with what I'm talking about. We can't get caught up in trends when we're just trying to follow others, just do what they're doing. Now, again, some of them are innocent, but I think even if they're just innocent, like even that ice bucket challenge, it was innocent, but it's just a mindset though. Like, oh, I'm just doing it because they were doing it. Like, what are we doing? And I know we've all heard this, but it's really true. So and I really do believe that the way this world is and the way this world has always been, people will do it. But you know how they used to say, "Oh, so if they jump off a cliff, you gonna jump off a cliff?" When we were little and we heard that, we always say, "No, no." But in reality, though, if there are enough people that start jumping off cliffs, we would see millions of people jumping off cliffs, hundreds of thousands of people jumping off cliffs. Because, oh, I wonder why they're jumping off the cliff. Is there something down there at the bottom? Like people would start thinking a crazy jump and be like, "Oh, let me jump off the cliff. Maybe it's a different dimension down there." That like people would start coming up with crazy stuff and start trying to rationalize why everybody else is doing it. And this, I don't know, maybe it's how I was brought up, but my mom always used to tell me if everyone's doing it, you probably shouldn't be doing it. Now there's some things that most people are doing and that you just need to, yeah, you need to make sure you're doing that because it's been proven to be the right thing to do. But there's some things that people are doing just because everybody's doing it doesn't mean you need to be doing it. I just we have to make sure we're going about our life in a certain way, and if we're just doing things because other people are doing them, I'm telling you, I'm telling you, I'm telling you, I'm telling you, life is gonna be difficult. And we don't need to be living life that way. That's why I say we need to lead, don't follow. We can't follow. We don't want to live our lives like that. But again, that's how I was saying. This is, but that again, when I was talking about that verse and giving context on it, this is how we are when we follow the crowd. We live our life like the world does. When we're led astray, when we're following others, bad things happen. Um, to wrap it up a little bit, again, you know how I wrap it up if you listen to this podcast, but I think we need to pray for our not even just our leadership. Like, yes, pray for our own leadership qualities, and for God to give us leadership qualities and gifts. But we need to pray for courage and strength to be able to lead others as well in any capacity as well. But first we do need to get to the point where we have our own, where we can lead ourselves. If we can't lead ourselves, we can't lead others. And to be able to lead ourselves, we need to be able to follow God. I know that all of that might sound a little bit confusing, but we first have to be able to follow to lead, and that means we need to be able to follow God to be able to lead others. But we need to follow God so we can lead ourselves, so then we can lead others. We can't go from just leading others. Like, we have to be able to lead ourselves. And once we're able to follow God and take his promises and take his word and live our life for him, then we can branch that out and um, take those qualities and give it to others and be able to impact others. Um, so yeah, that's why I would say just pray for that. Pray for the ability to be able to lead yourself first and be able to follow after God, because I think that coincides with one another, following God and then being able to lead ourselves and being able to live our life for him. And then once we do that, once we get that down to a T, then we could branch out to be able to lead others. And again, that could be and ask for the courage and strength to be able to lead others. And that could be in the capacity. And that doesn't mean just telling people, oh, you're not doing this right. You need to do this. Like, I never believe in that. But by our actions, showing them how we're supposed to live our lives. And that's leading. You can lead just by your actions. That is enough. But then once they see what you're doing and you see that they're receptive to that, then you could start leading by vocally as well. Like, hey, I know you're doing this, but I don't know if you should be doing that, blah, 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 blah. And that's something you'll learn as time goes. But it just, again, every type of leadership, every type of leader, it varies from person to person, situation to situation, circumstance from circumstance. So as long as we know that, and just pray on it again, just pray on it and ask God for guidance and leadership, a guidance and direction rather, for it. But yeah, y'all, that's really what I wanted to talk about today. Again, it's something I've had so many conversations over, and I have a lot of pet peeves revolved around it. I didn't really get into all of them, but the main point is that we need to be we can't follow others as far as the world. We can't be in this world. We can be in this world, but not of this world, rather. Um, we don't need to be following others. We need to follow God. But we also want to be able to lead ourselves as well so we can lead others. As you know, we want to be able to impact others and influence others positively and be able to get them closer to God. It's not just about us, it's about, love and loving others and be able to impact others along the way. If we're just only thinking about ourselves, we're not thinking about it the right way. So that's what I would say. Just we need to focus on being leaders, not followers. And that's something that comes with time. It's not something that you're just gonna pick up right then and there. It happens. It's a whole process. But I feel like we all can get there if we take the time to. And if we're all leaders, if we're all trying to lead, but if we're trying to follow God and then lead ourselves and then lead others, I think this world will be a better place. But the world is the world for a reason, so everybody's not gonna get there. But um, when we are thinking with that mindset and we're thinking with a leadership mindset, a growth mindset, I think that you know, things will be better. But yeah, y'all, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Let me know what you guys think about it. Thank y'all for listening, man. Thank you for all the love, support. Uh, Please continue to follow all the podcast pages, Spotify podcast page, the Apple podcast page. Subscribe to my YouTube. Follow the TikTok page. Again, I don't like TikTok, but I'm trying. I'm just trying to get. I'm trying to reach as many people as possible. So, also follow my Instagram. I have a podcast page on Instagram. I have a podcast. Man, I can't speak. I have an Instagram podcast page, but I also have a personal page. I don't really care if you follow the personal page as much. But my podcast link is under my or it is in my bio on my personal page. But yeah, it's Count on Joy Pod. Just type that in on Instagram, it should pop up. But yeah, y'all, I appreciate y'all, man, for all the love and support, man. I appreciate y'all for listening. I hope y'all are enjoying these episodes. Um, yeah, but thank you for all the love and support, man. Stay blessed, stay prayed up, keep God first, man. Love, attitude, gratitude, and I'm out. Peace.